Hello, guys. Imagine waking up to a world where the US dollar, which is a cornerstone of global finance, no longer holds its dominance and its dominant position. The currency that powers the international trade, that fuels investments and stabilizes the economies across the world, is now on the brink of crisis. As we approach to 2025, economists are warning of a potential meltdown that could reshape the economic landscape as we know it. So today, what we will be doing is we'll be diving into the forces which is driving this impending dollar crisis. We will also explore how years of mounting debt, inflation, and shifting global alliances could bring about the most significant economic shakeup of our time. So, and with the former president, the newly elected president of America, Donald Trump's, has America's first policy at the forefront, this crisis may be closer than what we think and what we expect. So, what happens if the dollar flattens, and what will it mean for America and rest of the world? So, let's uncover the reality behind the headlines. So, let's get started. Okay. So, I hope you can see the screen. Guys, in recent discussions, if you see, economists and political analysts have actually highlighted a looming crisis involving the US dollar. And by 2025, the predictions is that US economy may face significant instability and could be a sharp decline in the dollar value. We'll start looking into the details. Let's start with the historical context of this. So if you see, US dollar has long served as the world's primary reserve currency. With its strength, it's a hard currency, and it's actually because of countries' robust economy and the global influence. For decades, countries have held dollars to facilitate international trade and stabilize their own currencies, and also to invest. But several recent economic policies, combined with shift in global landscape, have weakened this very foundation. The America First policy, emphasizing domestic priorities over international cooperation, has contributed to this tension, which is actually leading some analysts to predict a potential dollar crisis in 2025. Let's try to understand this America First policy. Right. So if you see, Trump's America First policy basically aimed to reduce the dependence on international supply chain and boost domestic production. While this helped some American industries, it also led to trade tensions, as seen in the tariffs and restrictions placed on several key trading partners. As a result, countries began looking for alternative to dollars in trade. That is actually diversifying their reserves to reduce exposure to the US currency. And this shift away from the dollar threatens its status as a global reserve currency, which is increasing the risk of dollar crisis. So let's move forward. Right. Okay. The role of high national debt. Yeah, this is actually another factor contributing to the potential crisis is the US national debt, which has surged dramatically in the recent years. And the government's reliance on borrowing to fund its policies, along with stimulus packages and excessive defense spending, has raised the debt to GDP ratio to alarming levels. So if the confidence in the dollar declines, the ability to manage this debt could become problematic. That can lead to inflation and further devaluation of the dollar, especially as you see other nations may be less willing to buy US debt. Now, if you look at inflationary pressure, see, as inflation continued to rise, the Federal Reserve has been caught between the need to stimulate the economy and control inflation. But recent, interest rate hikes, if you see, that is basically to curb inflation, have slowed economic growth. Though Fed have actually cut the rate recently, but still, the rate is high. They are asking for further reduction also. So this balancing act could be severely tested if the dollar loses its value, as higher interest rate would make it more expensive to service the national debt, which could compound the crisis also. A weakened dollar would also raise the cost for imports that will further drive inflation. Let's look at the potential global repercussions. Yes. Okay. See, guys, when it comes to this dollar crisis, it's not only impact the US economy, but could also destabilize economies across the world. and many countries rely on dollar for trade and the financial reserve. So a decline in its value could disrupt international markets and raise borrowing cost globally, and it can lead to liquidity crunch as well. So countries with dollar denominated debt would face heightened financial pressure, which can lead to economic contradictions and contractions. So that can impact millions around the world since they are completely depending on dollar. So let's look at this shifting multipolar currency system, right? Okay. So, in response to the risk surrounding the dollar, countries like China and Russia have been increasing their reserves in other currencies and assets also, including gold. So, the development of digital currencies has also intensified this diversification trend. Now, should the US dollar crisis unfold, we might see a significant shift towards a more multipolar currency system where currencies like euro, yuan, or even decentralized cryptocurrencies play a larger role in global trade and reserves. Now, if you look for the conclusion and outlook, right, see, the prospect of dollar crisis is concerning, that's for sure. But it also highlights the need for comprehensive economic policies that address both domestic priorities and international relations. The US may need, a rethink to its approach to trade, like trade they need to have a practical approach with respect to the trade tariffs and everything, debt management, and monetary policy also to maintain the dollar's global standing. Now, for investors or policymakers and citizens, the understanding these dynamics will be very crucial as we move towards 2025 and beyond. So the key question still remains: will the US dollar retain its position, or will the world shift towards a new era in global finance? So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next session.